and welcome to the Widow Journals here on C is for Crone. My name is Ray. I am the C. And today's topic is getting organized. Not just having your notebook in your hand. So, hi. Oh, it says I only have 9 of 10 minutes left. Well, possibly this one, 9 minutes, 10 seconds. So this is probably going to be a split video, which is good because I have a C is for Crone and I can get that one going while I finish this one. Anyway, it comes from an idea that ended up my comments, unfortunately, in my enthusiasm. I thought out loud, got me. I said I was going to leave, but they booted me before I had a chance to actually just leave the group. Somebody posted a really good topic that I thought I wanted to share, and I said in my excitement, I said I wanted to share it on YouTube. They were offended. I had said that in my initial comment, I had said that I would take their idea but use my own words and make it mine. And I got accused of, well, basically got poked at, how nice it was, you know, that I was using their pain for my content. That wasn't my objective. I tried several times to apologize for the misunderstanding. I'm sorry they were offended, but that wasn't it. It was just a really good idea, and one that I think a lot of people who are grieving struggle with. So I just wanted to talk about it, and I wanted to be honest that I was talking about it, and I actually had mentioned once before sorry, I ended up taking a breath and then I paused, that I was going to do that, you know, I had seen things and this was cool. So I'm going to miss that opportunity to see things and have them being cool and then share them with you here. Because there are ways to do it without violating privacy. But, okay, whatever. Moving on. So, basically, the topic was about grief sucking and everything that's kind of seemed to go with it, you know. A feeling of having to learn something from grief and ulterior motives. And it's right. Grief doesn't have to be anything more than just it sucks. Sometimes we learn things from it, sometimes we don't. Now, I don't think it's important to learn anything from grief. I think your journey could just be a journey of sadness. And you move through it and you move on. So yeah. But I am finding what I have found, because, and I will definitely try and find the definition for metaphysical to include with this video. Look for that at the end. I think death is different for pagans. It's different for me as a pagan. I won't speak for other pagans, but it's different for me. I process things differently. I'm also metaphysical, as I've said, so I don't see the world the same as other people. This is normal for me, the same as people who are non-physical see the world the way they see it. It's perceptions. It's how we're raised to use those perceptions. Anyways. And I do think that grief needs to suck and then move, and then move on from the sucking. You know, they talk about the 7 stages of grief. That's not a ladder you climb. It's a messy little bog you live in until you process through. And some people never process completely because they can't wrap their brains around hate and anger. Because we're not supposed to hate the people who passed. I'm asking why not? Because when someone dies, they do that to you. And I think you're allowed to hate that. And I can tell from my tone of voice and how flat in my face that triggers anger issues. And I will be talking about grief and anger, because my own journey with my husband's passing has just dug deep into anger issues I've had as a child that led me to this point in my life. And because I matter of fact, the whole grief needs to suck and then move on, means for me, it's nothing to see her, people. Keep the line moving, please. I don't want to be stared at. I don't want to be gawked at. And I don't want to live in that place of boo-hoo, my husband died. My life isn't death. My life is living. And it does bother me when I ask people to not worry about me, to think positive thoughts that I can use as an empath to move forward, and then I get worrying comments. That angers me. I had a bout of anger Christmas night because I had said that this person knew. And I feel sorry for the situation that she found herself in, but I'm not in that situation, and I don't want to be equated with that situation. And it's why I think it's really good that I am not in grief groups anymore, because I am so angry that I can't be sensitive in a way that group settings are set up. I can certainly respect privacy and respect people's emotions, but I want to be angry. And there's just, as you're going in these groups, there's a lot of talking, and this is good, and sharing, and this is good, and a lot of just being nice. I don't want to be nice. I want to be angry, and I want to get it all out, and I want it gone. I've been packing around for 48 years, and I think enough is enough. So, for me, I don't need to solve some great mystery about death. Death is what it is. I believe death is a beginning. It's the end of this, but the start of that. So, for me, there's no big extra something that goes on with death. It's just dealing with the empty spot the person used to occupy. And my emotions that go with it, my thoughts, my perceptions that go with it. There is only so many answers to my why questions anyway. Living there is worse than being sad that he is gone. So, constantly living in the why did this happen? And I'll close this here and pick it up. Does nothing but cause me pain and hurt me more. And it's unproductive. Okay, back in a bit. And we're back here on the Widow Journals with my messy hair. I plan on dyeing it tonight. It's New Year's Eve. So, that's why I haven't brushed it. And it's not up yet. I will be getting back to that. So, took a bit of a tea break. In my cup is just some green tea. Not coffee. Cold tea, but I don't mind. That works for me. Wets the whistle. So anyways, where we left off was there is only so many answers to my why questions anyway. living there is worse than being sad that he is gone. Now, for me, the trouble is he's not gone. Just on a normal level, with the amount of his stuff that is left in the house, and the amount of things that I have to sort through and make decisions about, he is not gone. On a metaphysical level, what I consider a metaphysical level, his energy is still here. He is still with me. I talk to him all the time and actually feel like I'm getting answers. And, sometimes I question, but I think that's normal. But the voice in my head, or the voice above my head, sometimes it's just in the room, feels like him. So, to live in that place of, why did you leave me? I know the answer to that. He didn't take care of himself. He didn't value the importance of himself to the rest of the world. And like when I say things like that, I immediately get in my head, an impression in my head of the words, I made a mistake. I think in a world that drives us to be perfect and mediocre at the same time, it's very confusing. And because it just doesn't seem like when you're asked to be mediocre, that you're allowed to strive for anything. But at the same time, when you're asking to be perfect, there's just this place that you can't reach. And it is very appropriate that we make mistakes. It is unfortunate that often those mistakes hurt the people we love the most. And then it hurts us. And his mistakes, yes, sweetie, shh, I'm doing a video so I can help myself and other people. And both of us, lots of pressure in my head of him wanting to talk. The mistakes he had was not being able to really, in my opinion, the idea that if he didn't change his diet, he was going to die. He knew he was going to die, but there was no idea that this food was going to do it. And then with that came this, I don't care. I get that he cares. He did care, and I can get that after he's sitting here and he's telling me that he cared. He does care. So I live in this weird little place. I call it a weird little place, where my husband's here, but he's not here. So my grief a lot, with the loneliness and everything that's going on, has to do with the physical end of things. And so I live in the other end, where I can still talk to him. I can still have conversations. And this is the one time where I'm blessing my gifts, because it is keeping me in touch with him. And I can imagine myself wrapped up in his arms with a hug. It doesn't feel the same. Sometimes it does feel a little hollow, because what I really need is a hug. Because it hurts not being able to be hugged every day when I'm sad. And I will say that I am sad more than I am not okay. And so I'm going to validate that. Is that it's okay not to be okay, but I don't want anything made more out of my sadness than, hello, I'm just sad. I lost a very important person, probably the most important person in my life. A person I relied on for so many things. A person whose illness took so much away from me. So I'm angry. That anger sits on childhood trauma anger. So I'm going to keep this real. And yes, I am going to cry when I do these widow journals. So yes, I'm just not the type of person to sit and live in sadness. And I just realized something. A lot of anger that I have in me isn't mine. I can feel his. It is part of my gifts. He isn't the only person I can feel or have felt. Sometimes a good laugh is good. Like I think it was yesterday. I was upset, and then the song Heartbreak Hotel popped into my head. I think sometimes he does that, just to distract me. He loved to make me smile and laugh, so I wouldn't be surprised if that's him. We often talk to each other via music. The universe likes to talk to me via music anyways, so being a very media person, it doesn't surprise me that music pops up, that kind of thing. And so until all issues are resolved, he and I are both very comfortable with this arrangement. He's not ready to go yet. He physically passed on, but spiritually, in his soul essence, is not ready to pass on. There's this feeling that the universe is asking him to stay. There was a job that him and I had to do. It is one of hope, and we need to finish that job. And until that job is done, both of us are here. And that's why one of my questions of why did you leave me got answered. He wasn't in a place with his illness, with his renal failure, his kidney disease, to be focused on what it needed to be doing, whether it be some grand universal plan, God's plan, if you believe in God, or whatever, he was too sick. And so therefore, he needed to go to a place where the sickness wasn't affecting his ability to hang around and still help, still be what he was supposed to be, which was a warrior priest. And so I love that. It makes me happy. It makes me feel calm. It takes the tears away and that kind of thing. I miss him so much physically, and that's what makes me want to cry. And I think that's the biggest problem with my grief journey and the people who want to share with me, is that they can't, I don't know, this might be sounding arrogant, and I don't mean to be arrogant in any way, shape, or form, but they don't seem to be able to wrap their brain around the fact that I can be okay with his passing, that it's only been about 3.5 months, but that I can be okay, that I want to move forward, that I don't have to sit and be crying every single day, that I can love him and use that love for strength and my own hope building, it gets hard. It's hard for me some days when I'm happy and somebody messaged me and says, "Are you okay? How are you doing today? I had this idea, and you were in this place." And so I put it down to the road to heck being paved with good intentions. And I think that's what happened Christmas Eve. It was just good intentions. But I'm living in a different place. I always have. And so as I move through my my journey of grief here, I am going to actively live the life that I'm supposed to be living. One of the things that happens to me, and this is why I fight so hard to be happy, and I push back at people when I feel like they're, their ideas they're just pushing me to keep me in this place, is that being overwhelmingly sad and depressed feels like death to me. So therefore, with my survival instinct, and God knows how much I wish that my husband had come into this life with that same survival instinct. I've got to do whatever I can do to stay alive. And I don't understand why the universe didn't do that. Like, what life lessons were supposed to be learned here? I don't know. Maybe in the Great Review on the other end, we'll all figure this all out. Anyways, I just can't stay happy because it feels like I can't stay sad because being sad all the time feels like dying, and it feels unproductive, and when I'm not productive, I get depressed, and it's just this little hamster wheel that I get stuck on. So I prefer not to be sad all the time. That doesn't mean that I don't go to bed every night and freaking cry my eyes out. I do. I miss my husband terribly. It's just that he's here. So what I'm missing is the change, the old, as the change is happening. And I'm frustrated and angry that I'm having to go through this, that with no will, I'm in charge of everything at a time when I need to just sit, be quiet, sleep, relax, cry, and that kind of thing. So there's a lot going on in my own personal grief journey. I wrote, seems to be little out there in the way of compassion for those that don't follow traditional means of grieving. And that's true. People grieve in whatever way they feel they need to grieve. So some people lock themselves away, never to be seen again, and we don't understand that. So we just kind of turn our backs on that. Some people dive into their work to get away from the pain. And we often criticize that. For me, I like to face the pain, get it done, get it over with, and move on. It's very matter of fact. And rather can be a very blunt person. But that very matter of fact, where things don't make sense. It doesn't make sense to me when I want to be living my life in happiness. That's all I've ever wanted, was to be happy and find some bliss. To be sitting in a puddle of my grief. It's great to cry. Absolutely cry. I'm sad. I'm a big defender of crying, and I'm actually a big defender of just crying. Let it run down your face. Do the gross thing. Use your sleeve to wipe your nose. Only blow when you can't breathe anymore. Because sometimes we just need to do the ugly cry, and we just need to get it out. And it's freeing, and there's a whole bunch of chemicals and hormones that happen in your body that it's really good to turn around and have that release. And now I'm questioning, what is the traditional means of grieving? Is it a perspective thing? Is this a cultural thing? It probably is a cultural thing. So therefore, depending on your culture and your family, history, etc., that will depend on how you grieve. And I grew up in a place where there weren't funerals. Being with my husband and marrying him, I have been to 3 funerals now in 3 years. I've been to 3 that kind of thing. So, a very uncomfortable and social situation for me. I don't know, maybe I'm angry about because I don't appreciate it. Children, fuzzy children. And I guess because we all need to travel our grief, have our grief journeys be what we need them to be. I need to move this because I got pussycats playing in the chair next to me. Right here, down over there. Anyways, I get the feeling sometimes that if we don't, he likes to bite her. Stop biting her. That's a good boy. Licky kisses. See, I don't have time to grieve. I have 4 cats that like to have their opinions and their life expressed in the way they want to do it. So I'm not alone. I'm lonely, and that's different. So, but back on topic, I think maybe it's imaginary, this idea of how we're supposed to grieve, because we're so busy watching. We've got so much. We're so media influenced, so we watch all these movies with grief and all that thing, and so we get ideas of things. My grief journeys, both with Mom, my grandmother, and my husband, my grandfather too as well, have not followed the Hollywood version. I have not, and maybe this time it's COVID, but when my mom passed, okay, she passed away when I was an adult, when I was 39, I got one card. Lots of stuff on Facebook. I think we're using it too much as a shortcut. And because it's easy. And no casseroles. I had expected, from everything I'd ever seen on TV, to have all these people show up at the house. You know, friends of mine, even though they didn't know her. Just to, you know, the food, the whole thing. I had very little support. My first husband wasn't in an emotional place to support me. I was very alone. No one wanted to talk about it. So what is the traditional way to grieve? That was very lonely for me. So I think we need to reassess and take Hollywood and the media out of how we grieve. And even maybe the self-help books too as well, so that we can find better paths to grieve. And I will say this again, okay, because it's like, if we don't do it right, this was the thought I have on the paper, it's like we're doing something wrong or not doing it right. So what is the right way? What is the wrong way? I've been in grief group and read things, and, you know, there is no wrong or right way to grieve. We just have to go, it's something we have to go through when things end, whether it's job. I think sometimes when we have a favorite, it often happens when we have a favorite TV series, we want it to go on forever. So we grieve the loss of that never happening. The only thing between that and grieving the loss of a person is that now, in this now time, we can re-watch and re-enjoy and discover new things. So that that's a different grief journey. But people grieve when they lose their jobs. When they lose their homes, when their worlds turn upside down. It's an Armageddon of sorts. So yeah, I don't think there's any right or wrong way to grieve. I think we just take that first step and get on the path so that we can live and learn to live without them. Learn to live around, past the space where that person was, because they definitely, if they're important to you, they leave a hole. It's a big hole. There's a pothole in your road now. So As a matter of fact, person, as I said before, and I will make it very emphatic, grieving is obnoxious for me. I hate being sad all the time. I just really do. And I have said that there are people in my life who can't seem to grasp that although I am sad, I'm also rather happy. And I explained why. Physically, he's gone, but he's still here. I still have 4 cats who keep me busy. They make me laugh. I watch Jacksepticeye a lot now because he makes me laugh. It's a moment to get away from grief. Sometimes it's several moments to get away from grief. And I've got to quit wallowing there, like just living in the zoning out. I don't want to be zoning out all the time, as much as I don't want to be grieving all the time. And so therefore it kind of makes me angry that I feel, I don't know if these people are actually doing it or it's just my perception, but it makes me angry that I feel like I have to be sad all the time. Because I am not a sad person. And like I said, the sadness causes the depression, which makes me feel like I'm dying. And then the survival instinct kicks in. So yes, definite lots of anger issues to deal with. And probably that will be the big part of this grief journey, is dealing with those anger issues. And I'm at a point in my life where I feel comfortable sharing it on camera, on YouTube, for the world to see. Because I don't see a need to sit in silence of it anymore. And so for that, I say, so therefore I say, grief sucks. But what about embracing the happiness of the release? My grief journey is different than somebody who just was married for 30, 40, 50 years and then loses a spouse. I kind of envy that. All that life they got to share with their partner. I need to embrace the happiness. Last year was a heck of a year. It was horrible. There was lots of horriblenesses in it. But if I don't embrace the happiness, I get lost in the horribleness. And I can't... There's just part of me that just can't wrap my brain around the idea that all of 2020 was horrible. Because it denies the love I had for my husband, the love he had for me, the good times we did have. And it seems to cast a long shadow over the entirety of our relationship together, which for me feels entirely wrong. Especially for those of us who no longer have to deal with the terminal illness. There are days where I just want to get up, jump up and down. Hooray! No more kidney disease. He's not in pain anymore. The toxins in his body, and I'm sure that's what it is, aren't making him treat me awful anymore. There were parts of this where he was just downright rude, obnoxious, and mean to me, and sometimes to the people he cared about the most. Because I'm sure he wasn't thinking right. So, I have all that to sort through. So I'm happy that that is over. That part of my life that, of everything being controlled by renal failure and dialysis is done. I miss my husband very much. And as much as I'm happy that that's all done, I would give almost anything to have him back. That's a truth. But I am happy that that's done. Kaput's. Finished. And I need people to sort of respect that. I think that's part of it, is people don't, unless you've actually been there, and maybe some of the people who have been facing it don't get it because they haven't faced the death end of things. I don't know. All I can say is, as I've said before, everybody's grief journey is their own, and it's quite true. You know, we're all different people, you know, and I can't say what another widow is feeling. I can say, wow, I understand that. I know that. I feel that piece of what you're going through. So, and in trying this need to dissect grief seems to negate both just the happiness that I want to live, the way and the way I need to grieve. It is great to autopsy things, especially if you've had a bad relationship, you split up, you get divorced, etc. It is really good to sit and do an autopsy of that, so that it's not about picking apart your partner. It's about taking a look at what was really going on in the relationship so that you can move forward and work on anything that might have been your fault, your mistakes, so that when you get into a new relationship, if that's what you want, you can go in there with that empty baggage that we all want. I took all this trauma I had in my life and I brought it into my marriage. My husband got sick and there was no room to work on anything. You know, to sit there and have the space we needed to deal with his pre-marriage trauma, my pre-marriage trauma, who we were before we got married. It was discussed prior to, because we had to do that for the priest. That's what she wanted us to do. We were supposed to be discussing it. There's just, I didn't know I was going into menopause. So my grief journey includes being in menopause, and then being postmenopausal. It includes being 49, going on 50. So I don't think when we're grieving that we should be performing autopsies. I think there's a time and place for them, but I don't think when there's grieving. Grief is the one time in our lives where we need to be kind to each other and to ourselves, where we listen to what our body is telling us, where we listen to those tears. When we blow up because something set us off, we were triggered. I think that's when we need to not dissect that. I think that's when we need to just go sit back and go, whoa, why did I do that? Just ask why. And possibly not expect an answer, but just realize that you need to ask why. And that's the hardest thing. I think the hardest thing about grief, and why it sucks so much now in 2020 going into 2021, for me anyways, is that this is terribly lonely. The social isolation, I think, is probably the worst thing of the grief. Because I can't just go and have a coffee with a group of friends and just talk. I have to text. I have to messenger. Everybody's tired. Nobody wants to video chat. So, this is going to be an almost hour-long video. I hadn't intended it to be that way, but I'm thinking that these videos are going to be like that. So, I'm hoping you hang in there and that, you know, this has been a good conversation. But my plan for my grief journey is to stop asking why. It is what it is. No amounts of ands, ifs, or buts is going to fix what happened. I'm a problem solver, so I like to fix things. I can't fix this. This is broken. I have to accept that. So I like the idea of moving into acceptance. Acceptance, I think, is going to allow me to deal with these anger issues that I have. It's going to help me move quicker through my grief and deal with the things that I need to deal with. It's going to help me 20 years down the road when I roll over in bed and there's nobody there, and for whatever reason I catch a smell of Kirk and it starts me crying. I can just accept in that moment that I needed to remember him that way. It triggered me, and I'm sad. And it's okay to be sad. So, deep breath. Whew. Cheers. I drink a cup of tea, as I have plans for this evening, and it's already 10 after 7 on New Year's Eve. I can't believe it. It's New Year's Eve already. It includes cleaning house. I've been not feeling well the last few days, so I haven't been getting anything done. And if I can figure out what video game I want to play, I'm going to do that. Either that or it's just going to be a movie and crochet night. I have a Christmas gift I want to finish. Anyways, so 5 things I'm grateful for. I'm grateful for YouTube because it's giving me a at some point in my life, maybe I will learn how to actually talk. That would be good for my videos and everybody else. YouTube has given me a forum with which to express myself, and in a way that I feel like I can touch people, but at the same time, if nobody watches, it's a safe place. I can go put it. And if somebody attacks me for what I have to say, then I can turn around and be angry on my forum. So I express my emotions. My phone just here. Okay. Other things I'm grateful for: the Fantastic Four, my fuzzy children, happiness, and all this other things. Okay. I'm grateful for the gifts my husband left me, the house, the understanding of me, and the love. Okay, so we'll go there. What am I proud of myself? I'm proud of myself that I actually get up every day, that I'm not allowing grief to control my life. And I'm really in a way where it is the dominant thing in my life. And I am very proud that I can smile despite being sad, despite grieving. And all of this makes me very happy. So, here's to living in the gratefuls and the prouds of, so that I can live in my happy and embrace who I'm supposed to be. Peace, love, and happiness in the new year, everybody. Blessings from me to you. Until next time, bye.